Welcome, artists and art lovers. It is February 6th, 2021. We are streaming live from the official YouTube channel of Evolute Culture Vengers for another edition of the Poetry Talk Show Next Up, where I interview poets one-on-one and get their sense on how their work makes them next up in this little culture of ours. My name is Sean Battle. I'm your host, as well as the founder and CEO of Evolute Culture Vengers. Our goal being to hold space for artists and art lovers who need it. And poetry is our foundation. And the words of God sent from Newark, New Jersey, poetry is our release. So I'm glad to be here with y'all tonight for this very special episode with an individual that I have not talked to in a long time, in long lengths, someone who I definitely respect. But before we get into that, I do want to essentially remind you all that we are running the show on the first Saturday of each month. So make sure you are subscribed to Evolute Culture's YouTube channel. And if you are liking what you witness here in this episode, feel free to like, comment, and share and tell people about what we do. We also have our chat room available on our YouTube if you're watching it from the YouTube link. So make sure to leave some comments there if you are interested. Just making sure, here we go, boom. So with that said, and also, of course, evoluteculture.com if you would like to purchase from our apparel line. Right now, we have the limited edition La Presidenta line up. It is Aquarius season, and that means our President Treasure Board is celebrating all season in terms of her birthday, and that includes the La Presidenta apparel line. So make sure to check out the website, and it's also 43% off all merchandise that is in the store, including the very t-shirt that you see here and other items that we have, including hoodies, sweatshirts, phone cases, you name it, we got it. You'll also find copies of my books, Profess and the Forest of Bricks there as well. With that said, I just want to get into it. Let me just post this up here. Also, keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, the views expressed here, the comments, the questions that happen here on this program and any program that Evolute Culture does will vary in terms of vulnerability. So a show-wide trigger warning is in effect. And also keep in mind, with anything that we do, especially when it comes to comments that we see on our social media, please note that any racist, homophobic, transphobic, misogynistic, misogynoir, rape culture perpetuating, predatory in the head ass words or actions on stage or off will never, ever be tolerated. Now, okay, my phone wants to act up, but make sure that you always read the room, match the vibes of the audience with the vibes you want to provide. Now, we have somebody that I've been wanting to talk to for a minute. Someone who believes that confidence is a mindset interwoven with insecurity and describes her process to determine what she'll bring to the stage each time she performs. She's an individual who is proud of the work that she's done, even when others assume she'd feel otherwise. She began writing at 7 years old, actively slamming at 15, at Brave New Voices when she was 19, entered the adult scene slamming and coaching for both Columbus and Cleveland, Ohio, shout outs to her home state, as well as Detroit, Michigan. Her poems offer an actual face to the urban experience instead of a caricature, meaning it's one thing to have these characters, these stereotypes, it's another to have the real. And honestly, she is one of the realest people that I've ever met, period. She is one of those I said what I said type people that I inspire to be always. And is someone that if you cross her, she has a village behind her, and she will be behind the people that she is teaching as well, being a teaching artist in this day and age. You can find her work on Button Poetry and other channels. And I just want to get into the conversation that honestly started before we even went live. So, with that said, next up, the Hope Dealer, Siaara Freeman. What's good, love?
What is up? What is up? Thank you for having me, darling.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here. It has been a long time, a long time. But before I get into that, we got some tradition to do. I'm going to mute myself because though I gave the bio and everything, but poets do not tell. We show out.
Oh, so y'all want to talk about mamas? Okay, then. My mama, so strong. A hurricane named its kids after hers. My mama, so much pressure. She made 3 diamonds in 39 years. My mama, so smooth. She talk like her skin. My mama, so smart. Y'all, she became my mama. So black. America don't know whether to kill her or clone her. My mama, so hood. If you GPS survival, you end up in her arms. My mama, so magic. Unicorns chose not to exist when they heard she was coming. My mama, so oh, baby, she could teach you something. My mama, so bougie. She taught me not to talk about other folks' mamas. My mama, so black. When you sit her next to God, you can barely tell the difference. My mama, so holy. Duh, my daddy is a ghost. My mama, so Midwest. She said, bless your heart, and meant fuck you. My mama, so down south. She said, bless your heart, and meant fuck you. My mama, so many summers in Brooklyn with her Aunt Cat, she said fuck you and meant fuck you. My mama will whip your ass so fast you forget what you done did. My mama will gather you in her arms so fast you forget what you done did. My mama, so fly, she got birds embarrassed. My mama, so pretty, she make flowers shy. My mama, so loud, the devil, shh. My mama, so fat, boy, your pockets is jealous. My mama, so soft, boo, your edges is jealous. My mama, so fresh, my guy, your breath is jealous. My mama, so black, she gave her 3 daughters everything she got. My mama, so hood, she gave her 3 daughters everything she got. My mama, so poor, she gave her 3 daughters everything she got. My mama, so nosy, and she nosy, y'all, but she kept me alive. Thank you.
Yes, it is the constant flipping of the yo mama trope for me. We've all been in those roasting sessions. We've all been in those back and forths in the schoolyard, waiting for the buses. And the fact that you flipped it so well and turned it into a positive, which I feel like is something is just ingrained into blackness these days, these centuries, I should say. Like, what led to you having to take that trope and flip it into an ode to your mother? What led to the poem's birth initially?
So that's a fantastic question, G. So you're right. We all did this. This is nothing new or special to me. We did this, like you said, at bus stops. We did this at family reunions. We did this at the park. We did this after school, before school, at lunch period, right? Playing of Dozens is almost a coming of age for young Black children in America. And I think it stems from this idea of having to be tougher, having to be strong, having to be able to withstand, because if you can't take with the black kid who really don't have any power in America has said right next to you, how you gonna be able to deal with the white man who has all the power in the bank that is gonna say something to you, right? So I think that's why it's such a widespread thing. I always want to say that when I'm talking about this poem, because I think a lot of people associate it with just meanness, and it's not. It's a coming of age thing. Now, I was not good at it, not at all. I suck, G. Everybody would be having jokes. And when I say I would only think of something funny once the game was over, once everybody else was done playing, once it wasn't fun no more. And so then I just look bitter. You know, I just look like I was attacking somebody. They're like, girl, we playing tag now. Why? Did you just come over here and say something about my mama? I'm like, because I couldn't think of nothing when we was on the bus and you had hurt my feelings. And so it took me 6 class periods to come up with this, right? And so I was like, you know what? Wait, stop. I think I might have been like in 6th grade. And I was like, you know what? Wait, stop. And I was a poet already then. Like you said, I started writing at 7. And I remember thinking, and even then thinking, one day I'm going to write all the Yo Mama jokes. All of them that I didn't come up with, all of them that weren't funny enough. And I used to like write down some of the Yo Mama jokes, like in my journals and in my notes. Anyway, one day I'm just going through some journals like poets do, like writers do, and I see something from little Siaara, and I'm like, oh, this is interesting. This handwriting is terrible. It's Lisa Frank stickers everywhere. Let's see what this is about. And I flip it open, and it's a list of Yo Mama jokes. And I was like, you are so salty, G. You are so salty. And like, I was like, okay, what is it that you really want to say? When your feelings were hurt, those times where your skin wasn't so tough, or those times where it took, it's because you thought your mother was amazing. And it wasn't just because it was your mama, it was because it was Tracy Freeman. That's my mother's name. And I'm like, they must not know Tracy Freeman. Obviously, they are talking about somebody else's mama because my mama is great. And so then I'm like, so what does that poem look like? What does it look like if I take all, like you said, the negatives and I flip them? What does it look like when my mama's so black, when black is as good as I know it is? And my mama is so black. She's so black, you sit her next to God and you can barely tell the difference. Now, God is black. You see? So it's like you start to associate these negatives often. It's a reclaiming. Black people reclaim things. This poem is a reclaiming of my mother. It's a reckoning with not just the kids from my childhood, but every stereotype against the black mother, every stereotype against other people's black mothers. This is a reckoning. This is oh, you want to talk about mamas? Now let's talk. You've been talking about black mamas for a long time. Now let's really get into it. And we get into it into that poem. You know, I have people quote that poem. That's one of my poems that I love when the audience participates. I've had times on stage where people just do that poem for me. I'm like, this ain't even my poem no more. This is our poem. You said that with your whole chest. I just let them do the poem. And it's a good feeling. So yeah.
Yo, like everything you just said, I definitely like heard in the piece, like that reclaiming of the trope, like going through all the positive affirmations. Like, let me hold on. You don't know you talking about who you talking to, because you talking about you ain't talking about my mama, and this is why. But then towards the end, I noticed the shift where the pettiness came out, the petty LaBelleness came out. We had some slick shit.
Because since we talking about mamas, I'm not gonna talk about your mama, because you remember what I say is my mama so bougie. She taught me not to talk about other folks' mamas, but my mama did not teach me not to talk about you. Okay, so with that being said, I don't got nothing to say about your mama, but your edges is dry, girl. But your breath stinks, boy. But that pocket is empty, sir, since we talking, right? I ain't gonna disrespect who you came from, but I sure enough will disrespect you.
Like, you gonna get this work. Not your mama. I'm gonna leave you. I'm gonna leave
your
family alone. But
I don't know that lady.
Work.
But I know you, and we can do this. That's all.
See, that's how when you move that goalpost, when it's you being attacked that is able to move that goalpost, if you will, that's where art is damn near at its strongest. And I've been following you before, like I don't even remember seeing so much like video on you. at times. Like most of the time I'm following your work. It was in that period of everybody posting their damn Facebook notes. Remember that period?
Yeah,
Before,
yeah.
before I was like, oh wait, we posted here, we can't submit it to fucking
So and
journal.
so. Before we learned.
I'm like, the hell with it. I'm self-publishing anyway, but it is what it is. But so I followed you there and just seeing your growth as a writer and seeing the rawness over time, and then seeing where you've gone with your talent, with your gift since then has just been nothing short of amazing. Let's just get right into it. This is the second time you have been a part of an Evolute Culture event. Let's take it back real quick. Before a virus shut everything the fuck down.
Before this world was super fucking weird. What a weird world.
So context for those who are watching us for the first time. Evolute Culture started October 9th, 2014 under the name Evolve NJ. By 2015, Evolution Dope and Mike, our flagship show, moved to Burger Wala, a really dope restaurant in Newark, New Jersey. That's now been renamed The Wala. Shout out to Kai Campbell and his whole team. We moved over there, and it got to a point where we started doing features more frequently. And I finally said, you know what? I gotta shoot my shot. We gotta get people out of town. We gotta get people who are artists and who may not be known in the community like that. But once they know, they know. Like, people gotta see what's going on in other states. And I remember correctly, Siaara, you were the second artist that came out of state.
Out of state, yeah.
I should say, let me be clear, out of the Northeast area, out of the tri-state area, to be at our show as the feature. And I remember it vividly. Like, it was just a magical night. Like, before I start talking and mansplaining the shit, like, tell us your experience, being in New Jersey, because I don't remember recalling you performing in Jersey as much at that point.
No, I hadn't performed in Jersey that much. It wasn't my first time in Jersey. I had did something with Jersey Slam previous to that. And I was coming back, and I remember when you reached out to me, because we had some communication via Facebook. And so, we were, like you said, we were notes buddies. We were commenting on work. We were, chit-chatting. And I remember it was right around the time where I was starting to bet on myself. Financially. And it was a very interesting time for me as a writer, as a young woman. I had my family telling me they didn't really want me traveling alone on Greyhounds. That they were worried for me, that they would much rather me be in school for law or something else that would make them feel more comfortable with my future financially. And I'm just like, nah, I'm definitely gonna catch the Greyhound and go do some shows and just see what I can make of myself, not just finance wise, but see if this is really where my heart is at. If this is something that I could consider doing truly, honestly, for the rest of my life before I refuse to go back to school. And so I went ahead. You had hit me up. Jersey Slam had hit me up. And I had just booked New York. So I remember thinking, this is the biggest fucking deal of my life thus far. This is a whole tour, and it fucking starts at New York. And I have really got to either show up and this is just for me. This is not for any other poet, but for me, it was like, either show up or sit down now. Like, you have got to, because you have a lot of people that depend on you and that are looking up to you. And if you can't really pull this off the way you feel like it needs to be pulled off, don't do it. So it was a lot of stuff going on in my head. But I did New York, and it went beautifully. And I remember being so hype from that energy. And then a young lady from your show, from around y'all community, had hit me up. And I remember I was stuck at like not at my hotel, but like at the crossroads of like the Greyhound station. So that was like my like I never forget kind people. Like that was my introduction. I'm still Facebook friends with her to this day. Um and that was kind of my introduction immediately to y'all community was me being like, fuck, I'm stuck on Facebook and I hadn't reached out to you yet personally or anything. I was just like, I'm a Facebook girl. So I was just really talking to people saying this. I was gonna figure it out. But before I could even try to figure it out, she was like, hey, I'm actually going to your show tonight and I know exactly where that is. I can grab you if you're comfortable with that. And I'm like, I'm absolutely what? Yes, please.
I
Thank
remember
you.
that.
And I'm like,
Um,
yes, please. Thank you. I was so absolutely excited and just really just like happy to know this person that was willing to. I'm like, okay, first of all, we're friends on Facebook. This is awesome. And now I get to meet you. And now I get to meet you and get a free ride to my show. And I'm not lost anymore. So I get there and I'm really like, I'm still going off this new yo. And now I've got a new friend who's walking, me into the building and we're homies now. And then I meet you. And um I had been one of the things that I had really been hesitant about, because Mo Brown was hosting at New York, and it was I believe Nicole Homer was hosting a Jersey Slam that at that point in time. And I remember being like, it was such a scary time, really. It's always a scary time to be a woman in the poetry community, but it was being very talked about. And I was just young and like, I was like, I am very weary of men in general. And I'm queer. So I'm like, I don't really deal with men that often. And I'm typically charismatic, but sometimes I get awkward. I get kind of when it comes to dudes. And then I met you, and it was like dead ass meeting a cousin. um, it was like, who's this funny, nerdy, warm guy? And I know that's and the thing is, like, I knew that's who you were on Facebook, but we live in this world where people don't always translate as their Facebook. And that's super strange to me because I'm one of those people who I think I am who I am on Facebook. So I'm
right.
always confused when people are like, I didn't think you'd be this loud or this abrasive. And I'm like, why not? You follow me on Facebook. I'm loud and abrasive. But I often do that. I'm guilty of that. I'm like, oh my God, you're really who you are. And you were one of those people that were actually who you were. I remember you welcoming me, and not like how a host welcomes people and only introduces them to the people that they think are important. You literally introduced me to everyone. And I will never forget, because that was something later on when I started hosting a night. I realized that's what I wanted to do with features. I'm not just going to introduce you to the person that's owning the spot or the hottest poet here or my personal friends. I'm going to introduce you to the poet that comes to the open mic. I'm going to introduce you to the bartender. Like, you did that. And I just remember that like sitting with me in such a way of like, this person cares about each person in their community. They are not like deciding who is worthy of knowing someone or talking to someone. And I had seen such like egregious like acts of that. And I was just really, it was just it was a new experience. And it was eye-opening, not only to see it done but know that it could be repeated, that I myself would want to do it. And so I remember after meeting you and having that experience and being like, dude really is who dude is on Facebook. That's cool. Dude has actually introduced me to mostly everyone in here. That's cool. So by the time it was time for me to do my feature, I felt like I was doing a feature like for my friends. And that stuck with me. And it was not a small night. So it was a decent crowd that we were performing for, right? Like, this was
It
not,
was.
yeah, this was not like an intimate space at all. Okay. This was a lot of people who I felt like I was at a big ass family reunion and it was my turn at the talent show. And I just had a really long fucking turn. That's what it felt like. It felt like everybody loved it was just a really great feeling. It was one of those times that you need as a young touring artist. If you do not have one of those experiences, you will quit. I assure you, you will quit. But you need, and you don't need 1,000 of them because you're not gonna get 1,000 of them. That's wanting too much. But if you get one good one on the beginning end of your like tour life, chances are you'll keep going. So I do think like that first tour in general, plus, individual experiences really like played a major part in me continuing. And I was young. So like that was, like you said, that was years ago. And I don't be screaming my age, but a girl is 30 now. So I've been doing it for quite some time after that first tour.
Wow, wow. And just to and slight flex for you, just to give people more context, that show, like this was when a time was Evolution was weekly. Weekly, in regards to your crowd, it was weekly. And it had a cover. And you had so much support, not just from, just from your home state, but just from everybody. Like Jamal St. John came out
It was
that night.
beautiful. It
And
was
I did
beautiful.
a double take, like, what?
It was
Like
beautiful.
that was
And that's the homie still. Like that was the homie before, but from that night, that's the homie. Shout out, G. That's the homie still.
like
Yeah.
for real, for real. Like it was one of the best nights we ever had, and a big part of it was for you. I just personally knew you would be the right, because we do themes of evolution, and the theme that night was see something, say something. And just knowing who you are, like that was the fit, because you are unapologetic then, you are unapologetic now, in terms of everything that you do. You forced your own path. You inspired me. Let's be
Thank
frank.
you.
You inspired me to keep going and to just find your own way of doing this. And that brings us to Button. That brings us to that piece, that first video. Tell me your thoughts when you went viral.
Can we talk about? I'm gonna do this poem. Can we talk about this poem after I do this poem? Can we? Can we discuss it?
I was
I'm
low-key.
doing it next too. It's next in the lineup because I don't want to end on nothing too hard. So it's next
Right.
up in the lineup.
I was like, don't say the title yet. She might do the piece. I'm gonna mute myself right now, ladies and gentlemen. Siaara Freeman once again with the poem As Seen in Button.
10 things they never tell you about the drug dealer's daughter. 1, she loves Greek mythology. And by the time she is finally old enough to learn to love anything more than herself, he's already dead. 2, she is 9 when she realizes she's got the blessing of being brought up in this contemporary concept. She is the first on her block to get a stay-at-home dad. She brags. He plays Barbies and dominoes, and he cooks, y'all. We got enough baking soda in my basement to open 10 bakeries. My daddy is a baker. The cakes, they sell so fast you never see them. Just the customers looking some kind of hungry, like they got a sweet tooth. Only my daddy can yank, and I swear, y'all, we gonna be rich. 3, none of her friends believe her until they all turn training bra and things start disappearing and reappearing in her house. First, Tanya's television set, her older brother's attention. Then Danielle's 4-fingered ring and her father's retirement fund. Finally, it is Brittany's whole mother 4. The girl and her family, they disappear into a new neighborhood. The father, the drug dealer, he never misses a play, a beauty pageant, a poetry slam, and they ain't rich. But they ain't in them projects no more either. 5, by the time I realize what we are, it's already too late. We are an urban novel you will skim over at Walmart. A 4-minute smirk on Fox 8's face. What would occur if Spike Lee and Quentin Tarantino made a film under Eazy-E's direction? The question Black America asks itself every Sunday. I am a bakery with nothing sweet left in it. 6, my father is killed. My father is shot point blank range in the back of his left ear one night, but you probably knew this was going to happen. I mean, saying it out loud makes me feel better, makes this more real, less magic, makes this poem more 10 things you ain't know about Siaara Freeman, less 10 things about a cliche you can click your fucking teeth at 7. Some nights I put on my father's chalk outline and I teach it how to walk. My face is a haunted house my mother screams at from habit, not fear. Most days I am an alley in Cleveland, Ohio that no one will enter alone. 8. He is found with no jewelry, just my baby teeth. They're hidden inside his pocket watch. After the autopsy, they are returned to me chipped. 9, I disappear into my old neighborhood. I got an itch the suburbs ain't got nails for. I find Danielle. She asks me if I inherited any of my daddy's magic. I shake my head. She abracadabra something into her arm and says, you know, the drug dealer is supposed to die, right? 10. I know your stories. I know magic can turn men into myths, that the hood will make any black man a monster, but Zeus made an exit wound big enough for his daughter to walk out of fully armored, and Athena, unlike most goddesses, well, she finally learned to love something more than herself. Thank you.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. Once again, a quick reminder, folks, this is Next Up, the Poetry Talk Show powered by Evolute Culture Ventures. Catch these vibes. We are here with the Hope Dealer, Siaara Freeman, just speaking one-on-one. First time me and her have a conversation in fucking years, y'all. And we just heard a signature piece of yours that I first heard on Button Poetry, and it went viral like a motherfucker. Just tell me your thoughts on seeing how much that video was shared and consumed and appreciated by everybody.
So I can't even really talk about this poem without talking about the creation of this poem and what it meant, right? So at the time I was on a Columbus Slam team with my coach was Will Evans. I was on a team with Rachel Wiley, Will Evans, and Akeem Jamal Rollins and Ethan Rivera. That was that Slam team.
Look up all those names.
Definitely, absolutely do so. And one of the hardest times, I think, one of the hardest Father's Days happened to fall on the day before a slam practice. And I was so I've gotten a lot better with Father's Days, but I was like 19, 20. I think, no, I might have been old enough to drink. Yeah, I might have been 21. Yeah, I might have been 21. I think I was like old enough to drink. And I was really considering not going to that practice at all. But I had wrote a poem that day, which would eventually turn into 10 things they never tell you about the drug dealer's daughter. And up until that point, I had been really private as protocol when you are a drug dealer's daughter. I had been very, very quiet. In fact, I didn't realize, especially people knowing me and how much I like to talk and how much of a people person I am, how much of my childhood and my teenage years were built in silence, were built in the code of the streets. There was so much that I had to see, watch, be a part of, survive that I could not talk about. And it wasn't like I wasn't writing, up until then. I even wrote about my father being killed when I was in Brave New Voices. I got very high scores. I don't remember the poem, but you see it, very high scores. So it was not, in fact, the first time I had spoken on my father being murdered, but it was the first time on when I spoke of the circumstances, right? And so I remember I remember presenting that. And I remember presenting that like with a dare. I remember I was such a little bitch. That was probably one of the worst periods of my life, like personality wise. I was mad awful. Um, and I was really doing that poem and expecting them to say something to me about it. It was very much a dare. Okay. It was very much a I'm on this slam team with these people who do not have lives like mine. And I feel like they're going to fucking judge me and say, maybe this isn't the poem. And I fucking dare them. Right. So I went in there really wanting to pick a fucking fight, wanting it to be an argument. And it just fucking wasn't, G. Right. Like, people started fucking crying. Like people were like, it was the opposite of an, I've never experienced that immediate sense of empathy in my life. Like it was almost immediate. Like I cannot, and these were like, some of these people are tough people. It was a lot of Scorpios in that room. Like there's not a lot of people. It was some tough folks in that room. And they were like, oh my God. Oh my God. Like they were also like, this explains so much. Like it was a lot that happened at once. And just seeing that reaction, seeing that reaction to it really changed things. And then it was the time of the list poem. I don't know if you remember that in slam poetry. It was the time of the list poem. Right?
We started, don't get me started.
Right? It was the era. We had y'all know your slam history. Y'all, that's how I know I'm getting old. Know your slam history.
10 things I want to say to her. Yes, oh my God.
We was all out here. And you just it didn't even so and listen, I love a good list poem. Obviously, one of my favorite poems, one of my poems that went viral is a list poem. I'm never going to blot at list poems, but my God, was it a time where you could not go through a fucking round of a slam without hearing someone count you down for it, right?
Lord.
And so, like Siaara, ever the Slytherin that I am, I was like, Will, what if we put numbers? Will was like, put numbers! Immediately put numbers. If you put numbers, it's on and popping. So we put numbers, and incidentally, New York comes up again because we had a slam against the New York Slam team. Just to like get ourselves prepped, I think either for Rust Belt or for nationals. We were just trying out slam poems, and we had like a little competition. And it was like 3 other teams, I believe, that was down there. And it was the first time I had ever slammed with a drug dealer's daughter. And I 30'd the fuck out and we won. Like, and we needed, I remember distinctly, we needed my 30 and I was last. And Will was like, it was a gamble because that poem hadn't been up. It wasn't a guarantee. It wasn't a button poem. It was something that a little girl wrote on Father's Day that we added some numbers to. And so, like, we had no idea what was about to happen. And it happened. And after that, you know, it went on to Rust Belt. Button saw it. And then everyone else saw it, right? And their reactions, so many reactions were very similar to the first initial reaction that I was speaking about. So many people were just like, even those, and I'll get to the part about the people who could actually that understood, because that was a whole nother section of the world that I didn't understand. But I didn't understand that so many people would empathize with me. Did I get some judgmental people? Yes. Were there people who were empathizing with me? And also some people think they can't empathize and be judgmental at the same time. You can be. And there were a lot of people who would empathize with me and at the same time be judging me, like, oh God, little hood rat, I'm so sorry, you know. And so
I might
get a lot of I would get a lot of like,
not gonna do it.
it's very that it's like a backhanded compliment, only it's like a backhanded condolence. It's like, oh, but you know, he probably killed people too, right? Like that's what drug dealers do. You do know that. You're not stupid, right? So I would get like I also had to learn how to prepare myself because that's a big part of it, right? And I do realize I'm not my father is a person, right? And I told him as a story on purpose because I wanted, like I did with your mama, I want other people to feel spoke for. And there were so many people who felt spoke for. I'm talking internationally. I'm not gonna say no names because I can't, but I got mafia kids who have hit me up like, yeah, I'm the drug dealer's daughter. Yeah, my dad's been in prison my whole life. Yeah, I stay on the villa and I got all of this steel and he dead and it's the worst shit. And I'd have traded it to have a doctor's dad in a minute. Like I've had conversations with drug dealers' daughters that's not even in the States that ain't even black. And I done had so many conversations with drug dealers' daughters that are in the States and not even just drug dealers' daughters, just anybody who comes from a family where organized or not so organized crime is prevalent and a child has to grow and learn how to exist inside of that society as well as existing in the regular culture simultaneously, knowing that the laws of your life and the laws of your hood do not coincide with the laws of the country or the laws of the society around you. And you know that growing up. And so like it was some negative responses. Like yes, it went viral, but part of it going viral is people are like, holy fuck. These people are people and they have kids. Look at the kid. I help humanize the idea of a drug dealer in a way that it's shitty, but there was no humanity for a lot of people until my face was on it. Will my father's face get the same empathy? I doubt it. But my face managed to garner some empathy towards people who might not have been empathetic. And then for people who do, right? It's one thing, a lot of Black folks do this. And it's because we have to. We have to tell of the people who died that we know of. But in poetry, when people talk about murder, at least from what I heard up until that point on a slam stage, they were talking about friends. No one had really said, hey, my dad was killed for selling dope. That wasn't what was being fucking said. That wasn't the because that's what Black people tend to, and this is where I talk to Black people. That's where the difference between Black and urban lies, because then Black people want to distance themselves from urban. They really want to have this distancing session where they want to come to the cookout just like white people. It's very similar to how white people put on the Black exterior and then take it off when it's convenient. It's the same way some Black girls or Black people want to listen to Cardi B, want to listen to rap, want to listen to Gucci, but also want to tell the girl that she's ghetto, the actual girl who is that lives next door to you, the stripper. You don't want her around your children. She can't babysit your kids, but you love Cardi B. So it's this idea of glorifying the idea of urban nature and then turn around and vilify it in the same conversation. And I do think, just like anything, it needs to be looked at. It's nuanced, it's layered, it needs to be talked about. But the way that it is done is decidedly different from how most cultures are done outside of Black culture, which is why I don't understand why Black culture doesn't understand what it's doing. And so, like, with that conversation being said, keeping that in mind, when I wrote that, I really wanted to look a lot of again, like we said, flipping stereotypes on their head. That's pretty much a lot of what my poetry tries to do. It's I know what you thought, but you want to rethink that. I'm not even telling you, like in Drug Dealer's Daughter, I don't force you. You don't have to think that the drug dealer is worth humanizing. I'm just telling you, I loved him and here's the story, right? And so I leave it still up to the audience, but I think I paint a picture and a story that maybe possibly you just didn't see before. And some people are ignorant because they choose to be, and some people are ignorant because they weren't exposed. And either way, I felt like when that poem went viral, it exposed a lot. It exposed me in a lot of ways. I was naked to the world in ways in which I was very young to be naked. I was getting questions. I was bombarded. I had family members get angry at me. I had uncles be like, you better keep me out your fucking poems. I'm not dead yet. I've had conversations like real conversations with my family after that poem was viral. I remember once, and I tell this and I joke about it now, but I was at the border. I was going to Canada. It was my first international show. And they were like, they stopped us at the border, as you know, as they do, and they were checking things. They were like, why are you going to the border? Why are you crossing the border today? And I'm like, oh, because I have a show in Toronto, blah, 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 blah. And they were like, okay, a show doing what? And I'm like, I'm a poet, blah, 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 blah. And they were like, okay, do a poem. And I was like, no, white person, you can Google me. And so they do. And when they do, the first poem that pops up.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Jesus Christ.
It is. It's the very first poem
Oh,
that pops. It's the very
Canada,
first thing.
Canada. Oh my God.
So they're like, okay, 10 things they never tell you about the drug dealer's daughter. Can you come talk to us? Can you step out the car? And rightfully so. Now as a full-grown adult, I'm like, yeah, you asked for that when your arrogance and ego said Google me. You could have just done a poem that wasn't that and went about your day. You asked those people to Google you, and that they did. And so once he did that, eventually I went through because I didn't have anything on me that would prevent me from crossing the border. But I was like, this poem has done some things. This poem can change some things. And that's when I realized, just to end this out, that's when I realized this wasn't just about me and even about like, flipping that stereotype. This was something really revolutionary in its own way. And I'm really proud of that. This was a revolutionary act. This was me looking at all types of consequences in the face and saying, come with me. I really want to say this for my dad. This is more important. Um, and I don't risk all the time or often in general in my life. And I don't really risk as much as I think I should in my work, which is something I'm really focusing on now. Um, but in that poem, I risked it all. I risked it all. And yeah, I'm really proud of myself. I'm really proud that that poem is really special to me, not just because of my dad, but it reminds me of how brave I was when I was that age. That poem is fucking brave, and I was brave. And I'm not the same type of brave, but I'm still brave. But I'm just not the same type of brave anymore. And I want to find that girl again.
It definitely was a brave act, and the fact that you called it a revolutionary act, I'm so glad you did that. Like people need to understand, um, things can be revolutionary, but not everybody needs to be sacrificing everything. Somebody needs to be where they're at so that things are balanced out. And where you are right now is exactly where you need to be. I say that in general, and that your story, your background, your upbringing, your continued, you know, choosing to bet on yourself. People need to see that. People need to see that. They need to see, that type of work being done by someone who looks like you, who is of the same circumstances, and be inspired. And the fact that and that's the first time I'm hearing about, what the audience was for that piece for you. I can only imagine the stories that you are holding on to, the way it's been shared, because people have connected with that poem in a major way. And as I was going through my head, about people, they wish.
Yeah, I tell people I know people business. I got a whole long order cases up in my
Oh my
goddamn head.
God.
It don't just be my family. People look at me and they go, "You the one. You the one I gotta tell my deepest, darkest fucking secret to." And you know what? They right. I'm the one. I tuck it away and I'm the one. And I think my
Mm-hmm.
daddy would be proud of that too. That I done made a safe space for that. If
They
there's such
definitely.
thing as a safe space.
Right. He definitely. We gonna get to that. It definitely. It definitely, and he definitely would be proud of you. Like just in general, I just know that. And just going back to what you said about people want to be black until they have to be black, and I'm using that loosely. But how you described it, that's where the term "blavity black" comes from. That's where the term brunch boots black comes from, if you know what I mean. Like,
We know it exists. It's like colorism, except we done talked about colorism and we won't talk about classism. We seem to really not want to touch on classism in Black America. We kind of think that we can make these Huxtables and then make Martin and act like these two worlds. Like, get the fuck out of here, y'all. We got boys in the fucking hood. And then you have fucking what's Shonda Rhimes writing How to Get Away with Murder, and y'all gonna tell us these are the same fucking time y'all treat these black people equally? You treat the motherfuckers from Menace to Society the same way you treat the motherfuckers from Grey's Anatomy? No, you don't. No, you don't. It's the difference. You treat them different. Society treat them different. You like to pretend to be, you like to cuss, you like to be big bad, you like to get you like to be, you like to do all of that shit until it's time for you to get a job. And then you got a fucking code switch. And then you don't want me living in your fucking neighborhood because I'm embarrassing. And then you don't want to see me twerking because God, everybody gonna think we all act like that. Like, fuck out of here. Like urban people see that. We hear that. We know that. We're
now,
very aware.
now, with that said, let's talk about your journey still in the world of education. Um, like as of right now, like you're still a teach. Like shout out to all the teachers in general around in the midst of just of COVID-19 by itself, revealing everything that we've been talking about in terms of the failings of the education system for goddamn decades, and ultimately led me to be about the game because it was just a lot. Like you gotta have the passion for that. And I've seen you have that passion in terms of reaching out to students. Like we were talking about this before we got live on the air. You have like you're like in between like four different schools right now.
I
Um
am.
as a
I
as a
work for two arts organizations. So I work for the Sisterhood program, which is in conversation with the Anisfield Wolf Foundation, and I work for Center for Arts Inspired Learning. And Center for Arts Inspired Learning like books me out through the district, and so I can have anywhere between three to five classes a week. And then I have the Sisterhood Project is every day of the week. So
okay. And
yeah, I'm a
which
busy bee.
yes, and which of your assignments, well, maybe this was prior, because I remember, I think you posted this on Facebook as well, and we talked about it a couple for a minute before we got on live. Um, you're someone who, much like many other poets, didn't go the MFA route at
Nope.
all, but
Nope.
but through betting on yourself, through career choices, through talent and giftedness and being your true self, you end up being the teacher in a room full of MFA students.
It's been a
Um,
while.
like I still remember that post on Facebook. It reminded me of the journeys of say like Rachel McKibbins and a
All
few
right.
others who've had a similar fucking journey. Shout out to Pink Door, by the way. Um,
Gang, gang.
because at the end of the day, it's a piece of paper. It's a piece of paper. It's a piece of paper. What are the experiences behind that? And you have had those experiences. Like, tell me how it's been navigating through being an educator, giving your upbringing, giving your like career path, and how you've done things. Just how you just go through it, man.
It's not easy, G, but you know that. Like me starting it off with it's not easy, you know that. You already it's like being black, you got the two times rule, then you want to be black without a degree in this field, then you got to be four times as better. So it's like it's really about especially if you do not have, and I also want to be clear, I don't have an agent, right? So some poets, and I know it's so many people who are like, you're constantly booking, you're constantly doing this, who's your agent, what company are you with? And I'm like, siarafreeman.com. I don't even have a website. So it's
Not a lot of us do. Not a lot of us have
so it's they're like, so you have a public dude, who's your public? I'm like, no, I'm answering these emails, I'm doing this. So what you really have to do is um if this is something anyone is really interested in, like really trying to go forward with, as far as what I know, this is what I know, this is what has worked for me thus far, is you really have to pay attention to what you book, um, when you book and how you book, right? Because what you book, really what I'm saying is how you're going to build this resume, this CV, this press kit, right? You want to have a diverse set of things that you have done. You want to, I know so many poets are like, I only really want to do bar shows. That's not going to work. I know some poets who are like, I only really want to do college shows. It's not going to work. I know some poets who are like, I only really want to do festivals. Not going to work. You need to do all of that. And then you also need to figure out really how to do niche stuff, like figure out what your niche is. Where do you fit? What is it that you have to offer, especially if you're thinking about turning around and teaching kids, right? And you have to really figure out, and like we were talking about earlier, if this is your vibe. Like I give mad auntie vibes. I give mad big sister vibes. I am a big old kid. I watch Darkwing Duck and Rugrats all day. Like I watch Boondocks in class, and we'll write about the Boondocks. Like we do these things. And it's because I've really sat down and taken the time to make sure like who I am also is a part of how I teach. I don't ever want to go into a classroom or go into any situation. I don't think any writer should without figuring out who they are as a writer all the way and what is it that they want to bring to the table. And that's in any show, that's in any journal, that's in any organization. You need to have a good idea, I think, or at least a good idea of who you want to be. I think even a good idea of who you want to be is miles above, what most people have when they're going into these situations. So you get your CV, you get your press kit, and you settle in the idea of, and this is a hard one. Once you get it, you're supposed to have it because it's a lot of imposter syndrome. It's a lot of self doubt. It's a lot of people constantly being like, so where'd you go? And what'd you do? And how'd you do that? And you have to learn how to answer with a certain amount of confidence. And it can't be feigned confidence. You really have to be okay with what you have done and how you have contributed. I've been in spaces where I've taught for like MFA classes and like they'll have enjoyed the workshop. They'll have written poems, sent me emails. We'll do like a week-long residency. And then one way or another, I guess somebody will ask or they'll really read my bio and they'll be like, where'd you go to school? And I'll be like, a lot of places. And they'll go, oh, fine. Where'd you graduate? And I'll go, nowhere. And they'll go, well, how did you teach me? Like I just did, like with the poem you just got. And
By the time
sometimes
they
it's
figured it out, it's already been too late.
I've already been paid. But like it's like sometimes they respond in shade. Sometimes I'm like, and they'll have perfectly good poems or things that they just love that they're like, I hate this now. And I'm like, okay, is it really only because you don't feel, but I also know, listen, I don't want to seem like I'm the type of person. School is a lot of money. I come from a family of degree women. I get shitted on for not having a degree, not just by poets, not just but by my actual legacy. I come from a grandmother who has a doctorate and a master's, a mother who has a master's. Like I come from degreed up women. And I know it's a lot of money. So I know that sometimes a part of that is, bitch, I pay all this fucking money and you didn't pay this fucking money and you get to teach me. So if you mad about that, that I completely fucking understand. That I don't feel like it's classes. That I feel like that is a normal fucking argument. And like, had no one not fucking told me if I didn't believe that I could fucking do it without it, I'd have got one fucking too. So I've probably been pissed too to see such. So if that's the case, I absolutely understand that. But it's some people who just don't think I have the right without that piece of paper, who don't think that I have the accolades or don't think that I'm just this. And how did I get into their special space? And it's like, bro, fuck you. Honestly, like I don't have, nor am I going to pretend to like, um, I have more respect for someone who has an MFA than I do for the poet at the open mic. I'm not going to pretend that way. And I think a lot of poets get caught up in that idea of they have to fame this elitism. Like, yes, are there some fucking academic poets that I fucking love, adore, and stand? Fucking right. Are there some open mic poets that you motherfuckers have never heard of that I love and fucking stand? Fucking right. Like, and I don't feel like it's necessary, especially for somebody who straddles the line of page and stage and just hood and suburbs, like who's often always straddling the fucking line. I'm like, I don't have to choose. Like people want me to choose between being black and queer. People want me to choose between being stage and I'm like, I'm about to fucking choose. I'm not. I don't think one thing is better than the other. I think that they are both necessary, if you will, to this circle of life, right? And so I say all of that to say, yeah, it fucking sucks sometimes, but at the overall, it's who you're teaching. And I've gotten to teach some of the best fucking students. I'm actually wearing some merch right now from one of my students. Shout out to Kaleem. All grown up, really doing his thing, also a teaching artist, turned around. And when you make somebody want to turn around and teach,
Hey.
fantastic artist, whole rap project out called I Love Black Women. Y'all got to catch up. And really, if this is why, because like, and I he asked me to do a poem for the project. I was at the studio all day. I'm like listening to him talking. He's like, yeah, I remember when I was just sitting at your knee looking at you do poems. He makes me feel ancient. And I feel like he does it on purpose. He's like, I remember when I was just doing this and I was doing that. And he was like, and I did my poem, the poem that I did for his album. He was like, yeah, everything. This is why I'm here. This is like because I want to do, and I've always when I met you. So it's like you have to get to a space where it's not the money, it's not it's the people, it's the fucking people. And for some people, it's the love, but for me, it's to watch a motherfucker get up there and do it. Like to have taught somebody to do something, and then they put their own stank on it. Like they take what you did and they take it to the next level. Ain't shit better than that. Ain't nothing better than that. So I wouldn't trade personally. I wouldn't trade education for much these days. Is it fucking rough right now because of COVID? It's the fucking worst. And it's always been fucking terrible. And teachers need to be paid more, and teaching artists need to be paid more. And there needs to be a whole different administration set up for how public education school systems work. And people are really realizing that now. Because they don't have a choice. So go love on your local teachers, love on your local educators.
For real, for real. I've been saying that a lot. It took a fucking pandemic for certain shit to finally happen, for certain things to finally be put up on Front Street. You know, it gets to where, and as someone who also straddles the line of page and stage, you know, you're gonna find talented people on both sides, and then find out there really aren't really any sides. It's all arbitrary. So once you find out, like no one can really tell you shit. No one can really tell you shit. You're able to look at things on both sides and be like, that's dope. That's a bunch of bullshit. This is why I don't bother with this and find satisfaction with this. You know, especially when you have certain institute. I love that phone case, by the way.
I just got a picture of us. I'm sorry. I just wanted to get the moment, if you will.
Word, word. Thank you so much. Especially when you know, we see certain things as bullshit. Especially when certain foundations decide, okay, let me do this right. Trigger warning for where we're about to take this, because, and I gotta take it here because part of the work that we're doing, part of why we're sharing the stories that we're doing, part of why we're making certain decisions in terms of how our work is shared. Like you got a whole book of poems and selfies out, okay? Please go on Amazon and find that. Like your work is out here, but you've taken the unconventional path. Partially, you know, what you say is because you have, you know, certain institutions that decide you want to uplift those who, honestly, the hell with the jail cell, they need to be thrown over the bridge onto a wall of fire or something shit like that. But instead, you have Poetry Foundation, Poetry Magazine, not doing their due diligence or not doing their due diligence in publishing certain people. And when things come out, they don't. They show that they don't care.
So I've been okay. So people have been back channeling me about this because I'm urban, right? We just had this conversation. I just did the drug dealer's daughter. So they're like, criminal stuff. Let's talk to Siaara about it. And I'm like, okay, let's go. Do I think that this issue that was curated by the fantastic Dr. Tara Betts
Yes.
and Dr. Joshua Bennett.
Yes.
I want, first and foremost, I want those two Black people to know that I love them, that I felt like they were completely thrown under the bus, that I absolutely believe them when they say they read it blindly and that they were not giving background.
I hope nobody came after them, especially my good poetry teacher, Dr. Betts.
I'm not going to get into that. I just want them to know from me personally that I love them. And I am so sorry that they have to deal with this nonsense, because I think the idea, first of all, the concept, and so many of the other poems in that journal that was sullied, so much beautiful work by incarcerated individuals that were sullied by that pedophile, period, is such a shame. Because I that is the type of issue that you sit down, that I could go to my hood and read, like in a space where they be like, okay, what we talking about? Yeah, I know hood niggas I know niggas in jail who write poems. And I've had this conversation and I say these things, and I think people just think I be blowing smoke. When I'm like, the hood talk about politics, the hood know what a line break is. I promise you we can figure out syntax. Do not sleep on the hood. There's so many niggas in jail who don't got nothing else to do but fucking write, G. And to see it showcased and displayed for once, especially this idea of them being so many Black and brown people disenfranchised and in this position who don't have the opportunity to pursue art in that way, to place them in a group with a fucking pedophile and want to argue that we need to view them in the same way. I'm sorry, one more thing. A pedophile that was a professor, a tenured professor. So someone who was intimately involved with privilege, not only just on the white level, but on a class level, okay? A tenured professor is in no way fucking disenfranchised. In no way. We are not about to start blurring those type of lines. No, thank you. So that's what I have to say on that. That's where I'm at on that.
Yeah, let me just say this, and this is the consequences of this, and I'm gonna say this full disclosure. Like, I saw Dr. Betts, who will be a guest later on for Next Up in April, and Dr. Benny.
Love you, good doctor.
Yes. Dr. Betts, she'll be a guest later on. I saw that they were a part of this and that they wrote editorials. I didn't realize that they were part of like the vetting process and that they were reading blindly, and that's partly because I personally, like maybe others, have written Poetry Magazine off, have written the Poetry Foundation off because of years and decades of bullshit like this. I can't even celebrate.
One of my closest friends, Giselle, and I just want to say this because I think a lot of people sweep my good sis under the rug, just like they sweep a lot of Black trans women under the rug. But my good sis, Giselle, curated their trans issue, and they showed the fuck out on that shit too. And my good Judy tried to fucking tell everyone, and bitches really shut her up. So it's not like motherfuckers ain't been snitching on the Poetry Foundation.
We've been talking about this. People have been talking about this. And that's why, especially now with people are getting reminded of other mediums, shout outs to the TV show I May Destroy You, getting fucking snubbed. Once again, the conversation of starting our own platforms. And this is why. And this is why artists like you are important, in that we have these conversations, but that the work is being done. You've done that in your own ways, in many ways. I just remembered your journal was good. I would love for that journal to come. I would love.
I'm really thinking about it. It's so many projects. I can't talk about it yet, but I just got accepted into a fellowship, and I got one of my books in the hands of a publisher that I really love. Fingers crossed. Can't talk about it yet. But I just got it. In fact, my
vibes.
And vibes. I keep looking at my email like, damn, I'm booked again, which is good. Being booked and busy is a blessing. But I do really want to take some time to think about, if not reviving what's good, turning it into a podcast or a YouTube channel has been a thought of mine, because people have constantly asked me to do some type of vlogging, some type of video. People constantly are like, let's talk to Siaara Freeman. And so I've been considering doing that. Just so I can, just because of also COVID and life, just having a little bit more interaction with people. But just to throw this out here, I am considering for Black History Month. I know you were one of the people I feel like maybe had liked the status, but I am thinking about teaching a free workshop on Black cartoon characters and Black superheroes this month. So if folks are interested in that, I will come back around to the YouTube channel and comment where you can find the link to the workshop registration if that's something you're interested in.
Awesome. I'll definitely share that on our channels. And I do remember seeing that. I think a lot of people would be interested. In fact, I need to link you to James C. Ellaby now. But yes, like I was even thinking in my head, I'll say it like this, and then we'll start wrapping things up. the fact that COVID has happened and that people are all virtual and all this other stuff, it's one thing to say we need to collab, but it's like, what the fuck is the excuse? What are the excuses now?
There is no excuse.
None. So let me just say this. I don't know what it's going to look like, but as the founder and CEO of Evolute Culture, I am speaking to you directly. Whatever we can do, whatever comes up, know that you will be in my heart in terms of reaching out to. And if there's anything coming up that you want to work with directly, just feel free to reach out and we will make something happen, whatever it looks like. I know post COVID, I would definitely love to come out to Ohio, which is dumb good when it comes to the poetry, when it comes to poetry and the arts as well. Shout out to Scout Woods and Streetlights Guild. Shout out to
Please shout out to Scott Woods. First of all, Scott Woods just had a birthday.
Yes.
That's my president. I don't care who y'all elect. Scott Woods been my president since I've been 18, baby. I don't care who y'all elect. It's Scott Woods. That's who's president, honey.
Yes, that's somebody who has helped me with my work as well indirectly, even if you don't know it. Like, just know that, you know, the hand is extended. Whatever it is we can do.
We gonna hook something up then. We gonna hook something up. We gonna hook something up. We'll talk about it later. We don't need folks in our business. We'll talk about it later.
So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, this is Next Up, the Poetry Talk Show. If you have not already, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at Evolute Culture, EVOLUCULTURE. And if you want to get from our apparel line, get the La Presidenta line, go to evoluteculture.com, 43% off the discount on all merch in the stores. And make sure you're subscribing to the Evolute Culture YouTube channel. Comment, like, and share this video. Anything that you can do that can support a Black-owned business in Black History Month. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Just saying.
I'm gonna cop a y'all go cop a hoodie. I'm gonna cop me a hoodie. It's hoodie season. Get hoodied up.
There you go. Miss Freeman.
Everything I'm wearing is from Black-owned business. This is Sunny Wallflower. Y'all, if y'all like the earrings, if you like crickling, she specializes in like a lot of like culturally Black things. Sunny Wallflower. Look her up on Instagram and tell her Siaara Freeman sent you.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. Just looking like you just came out the set of Judas and the Black Messiah or something like that. Yo, Miss Freeman, my last question, and then we'll get into your last poem and where people can find you. Siaara Freeman, what does it mean for you to be next up?
What does it mean for me to be next up? I mean, I guess it means watch the throne. That's what it really means for me to be next up. For me to be next up, it means that so much of what I've done, because I've been doing this again for a long time on stage, really since I was 15. And it means me being next up means that everything from that point meant something. That it was the good, the great, the awe-inspiring, the terrible, the bad, the toxic, the awful, all of it. Every taste of it was leading up to me being up next. It means that I have to look at everything that happened with grace. Because if you want to be up next, you had to, in my opinion, you had to work to be up next. Up next is not just about waiting in line, right? It's about doing the work until it's your turn to shine. So that's what being up next means to me.
Doing the work until it's your time to shine. Yeah. There it is. Siaara, I want to say thank you so much for being here tonight. I'm going to mute myself, share your last piece, and tell people where they can find you and what you're doing next. So, ladies and gentlemen, one more time tonight, Siaara Freeman.
So, let's end on something that I think is funny, a little joy, and also by one of my favorite poets. After one of my favorite poets, anyway. Texas for my exes after Rachel Wiley, the boss. Oh, ex-girlfriend, I heard that you heard that I don't still wish you shit. But that's not true, baby. I still wish you plenty of shit. For instance, I wish you really, really, really fantastic marijuana. And then I wish you a marijuana tolerance so high, a session with Snoop Dogg, Cheech and Chong, Wiz Khalifa, Rihanna, Scooby, and Shaggy, plus me will not work. I wish you trips. I do. I wish your mama stay tripping, your new job stay tripping, your new booze stay tripping. I wish every day of your life was a fucking trip with really great weed that will not get you high. I wish you went to bars that serve everything except what you want. I wish my heart to be the only thing on tap. I wish you scuff shoes after buying them for the first time every time. I wish you ringworms in your vagina. I wish you strap-ons that won't stay strapped on. I wish you more girls. I do. I wish you girls who claim they are nerds but don't know the difference between Marvel and DC characters. I wish you girls who claim they can't cook and they can cook. They just don't want to cook for your punk ass. I wish you girls who tell you they can squirt, but it's really not squirt. If you don't get that joke, have better sex. I wish you end pieces of bread. I wish you nothing but end pieces of bread. I wish you entire loaves of end pieces of bread. I wish you into a world where chocolate doesn't exist. I wish you into a world where Beyonce never made lemonade, a world where bloodthirsty ostriches roam the free land searching for your blood. I wish you into a world where there is no music except Drake mixtapes, Taylor Swift on every hook, which really ain't that bad. Until it's all you got, then it's that fucking bad. I wish you into a world where your tongue tastes everything except me as overcooked okra, a world where I never had to write this poem, a world where my wishes weren't so much like you, girl. Good inside my mouth, meaningless the moment you left. Thank y'all. So I am Siaara Freeman. I am Siaara Freeman on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you want to get specific, though, I am That's What C Said on Twitter. Again, that is That's What C Said on Twitter. On Instagram, I am She's a Bad Mama Jamma. Again, that is She's a Bad Mama Jamma. And one more time, you can find me, Siaara Freeman, SIAARA Freeman, like the Boondocks, Freeman, like Lovecraft Country. You can find me on any of those sites if you just type out my name, because there's really not that many people spell SIAARA. So there you have it. Thank you for having me. Sean, this has been a joy. We do not talk enough. We're gonna have to make this a normal thing without everybody having to watch us. As always, it's a joy to watch you grow as an artist. It's a joy to watch your business grow as an artist, your organization, what you do for your community, how you do it. I appreciate you for having me, and I really can't wait to the next time we talk.
Yeah, same here. Thank you so much. Like I said before we got on the air, I was not, like, full disclosure, because we've made it clear in this business, we about mental health in here. I was not doing well. Sidebar, weekly mental health check-in session every Thursday night, 7 p.m. I will send you the Zoom link, Siaara. It's called Renew. It's called Renew with Evolu. Shout outs to our president, Treasure Board, who always has it. Would love to have you there. I will send you the link. Very informal, very private. But I was not doing well today. And talking to UC, it really helped. It really did. Like, I needed this. And I'm sure others needed it as well. So Thank you for your journey. Thank you for keeping going. Thank you for all you have done. You are loved. You are beautiful. You are valued. Thank you for your ascension. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you. That's what friends are for, G. That's what friends
Yes.
are for. All
That is
right,
gonna
I'll
do
holler
it.
at you.
All right. That's gonna do it for us here at Next Up, provided by Evolute Culture. Once again, my name is Sean Battle. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Evolute Culture. Make sure to get us on evoluteculture.com. Again, my name is Sean Battle. Follow me on those platforms as well at True SEAN Battle and Battle Sean Battle on TikTok. Yes, I'm on there as well. Till next time, you are loved, you are beautiful, you are valued, and no matter what you go through, may you always kick out at 2. Courtesy of Evolute Culture. Catch these vibes!